Howdy, folks. Good afternoon and welcome to your Rangers Daily News Bulletin on Friday, the 6th of September. A few stories to get stuck into, starting with an off-field one, an interesting interview that the former English FA Managing Director Adrian Bevington has gave to the Go Radio football show. And he was speaking about Rangers' search for a CEO and the requirements that are needed for the position. He was also quizzed on if he fancies taking over from James Bisgrove. He's now running a German football agency, and it's widely thought that St Mirren Vice Chairman Jim Gillespie is the front runner to replace Bisgrove at the helm. Bevington, who has also worked as head of recruitment operations at the likes of Middlesbrough, as well as holding roles at Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest, insisted a high-calibre candidate capable of leading from the front with key contacts at UEFA and other clubs, as well as the football industry and transfer dealings experience is essential at Ibrox. Speaking about the role, he said it's been interesting watching the performance with everything that has been discussed of Rangers, where there is so much noise and news around the club on so many levels. Asked whether he could be convinced to take over the role, he says, well, I've got a very good job at the moment with a leading German football agency that I have been doing for 2 years. Look, Scottish football, I've made no secret over the many years that I would, at some point in my career, always be interested in working in Scotland. I think it is an incredibly passionate football country, and I've got a great deal of respect for the game there because of the fan base. You've got so much to build on there. Rangers as a football club is such a huge football institution. It's a global club. Obviously, they are not happy with the situation they are in at the moment. The fans are definitely not happy. I've been following it very, very closely. Clearly, they were well beaten at the weekend by a very strong Celtic team. There is a lot of pressure flying around there. What I would say is whoever the chief executive is going to be for Rangers has got to be someone who can show real leadership, is a good communicator, got to have a real understanding of the game and the industry, knowledge of the transfer market. Yes, they have got to be commercially strong to increase the revenues, but ultimately, I think they have got to have football industry nous and a real common sense and the ability to work relationships. If you've got all of that, then you've got a chance, but it's still a very demanding, difficult job for whoever that person may be. He continued, I think with a club like Rangers, with the stature that they have in the game, and even though they are going through a challenging period at this time, Rangers Football Club should be able to attract someone who has that stature and the ability to lead from the front, but also have a real good understanding of how the industry works and a great network of contacts and relationships with people right throughout the game in Scotland, but also at UEFA, the European Club Association. There are people within Celtic who have some of those relationships already, and Rangers should be expecting similar. So very interesting words there from the former English FA Managing Director, Adrian Bevington. And other news you may have seen, well, yesterday, the big news was the injuries sustained by Rabbi Matondo and Danilo as well, heading back to the Netherlands for a clean-up job after suffering a setback from his knee recovery. He went over to the Netherlands to continue treatment and rehabilitation. He was pictured at Glasgow Airport wearing a brace on his leg. We understand the situation is not thought to be serious, and he is expected to return to training with Philips Clermont's side in the coming weeks. However, both Matondo and Danilo have been left out of Rangers' Europa League squad, so they won't play any part in Rangers' upcoming matches in that competition. Other news you may have seen yesterday, an interesting one, a player reportedly on Rangers' radar in the summer transfer window, but never materialised. And speaking on the Hard Truth podcast, which is Peterborough owner's Darren McAntony's podcast, he said, well, they've signed Manchester City youngster Jadel Katongo, the centre-back, on loan. He was previously on loan last season at the Posh, 19-year-old defender. But speaking on his podcast, he says, I worked on the Jadel deal the day before in the UAE. We'd love Jadal all summer, but we got told all summer that he was going to Scotland. I think it was Rangers he was potentially going to, but we got a call from Jadal the day before saying that the Scotland move was off. Man City then came to us and said, look, let's try and work something out. So I approved the deal the night before, and it was just a race against time getting him down on the day. So, yeah, Rangers did sign a defender on deadline day. Kassan Virjo, of course, from Feyenoord on loan for the season. But yeah, that move, apparently Rangers were looking to sign Jedel Katongo, according to the Peterborough owner, Dara McAntony. In other news as well, you'd have seen Todd Cantwell has been speaking about his departure from Rangers in his first press conference as a Blackburn Rovers player. He described his reasons for wanting to leave Glasgow and his relationship with the manager, and Philip Clement's decision to explain Cantwell's contract situation after that pre-season friendly with Birmingham. I'll read you quickly what he had to say. Cantwell said there was a change around the club. When a manager goes, the backroom staff go with him. It felt like a different place. When a new manager comes in, they have to put their stamp on things. I think we had a bit of balance where last season we got ourselves into a position where we could go on to do well. Like I said, I've got full respect for the manager and management at Rangers now, but I didn't believe it was the right place for me to be. Those are personal reasons. You don't have to look too far behind tactics and the way the team plays and how you get the best version of yourself. I think at 26, if you're not sure what the best changing room for you to be in is, then ultimately you'll probably bounce around quite a lot. I made a decision. It's a bold decision, and yeah, let's see how it unfolds. On Clement coming out with explaining that situation at Birmingham, he says it was his decision to tell the press that was my decision. We'd spoken internally for a while before the season had finished. Ultimately, we couldn't find a happy medium for both. The one thing I'm desperate to clear up, which I touched on in my Instagram, is that I never said I didn't want to play for Rangers Football Club. That never came out of my mouth and never would. So that is what Todd Cantwell had to say about the situation. So yeah, some of the stories floating around involving Rangers on this Friday afternoon. Folks, remember, if you want to keep up to date with all the latest Rangers news, not only subscribe to our YouTube channel here, but keep your eyes peeled on our social media accounts, and also make sure you're subscribed to the Rangers Review website as well. Bye for now.